Is that, I'm assuming that.
Yep, we're recording. Good morning, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to be doing some learning today, talking about the month of Adar, the Hebrew month of Adar, and probably a little bit from the Torah portion as well. Thanks for being here, y'all. Rabbi Joe.
Hola. Thank you again for coming, everybody. And we will go through a little bit on sacred time. This is a sacred day for the Jewish tradition. And what we are doing over this next year, this is our second class, second discussion group on sacred time, on holy time, understanding time from the concept or from various ways of understanding time through the prism of Jewish mystics. I'll say much of it is going to be through much more poetic and symbolic understanding of time, because in Judaism, time is simply not a marker of where we are in life. It is that, but it's not only that. Time also deals with or is rooted in the timeless, in timeless transcendence, even. Time is a manifestation, in a sense, of the divine. Again, I'm not saying this is your average conversation when you discuss time. When someone asks you what time is it, don't go into a deep meditative, reflective mode and offer them insight into being. We're talking here a very different approach to time that I hope, even though we're doing it through the prism of Judaism, that it somehow relates also to you in your own lives, wherever you are in a faith tradition or of no faith tradition. Will be time again, we will be speaking of in terms of metaphor and mystery, because that's how the rabbis understand it. And there are many words in Hebrew for time. And as we said last time, we will over the year we will explore them in our monthly studies and the different insights or aspects of life that they offer us guidance. How they offer us guidance. Simple words, but they're much broader philosophies actually. And I think we mentioned last month the idea of Zman. Zman is one of the key words for time. It's not a common Hebrew word in the Bible. It's not a common Hebrew word. It's very uncommon. It's only about 4 or 5 times, in fact, in the whole Hebrew Bible, the word Zman. And it's a rich word. It's a rich word, and I use that word rich intentionally to help us understand this concept of time, because it's related to the word for to nourish, to fatten, to enhance, like oil. And again, it's not the root, but it's an etymological cognate. But the word itself, Zman, just to bring us sort of, before we start analyzing time, to give you a broad sort of vision. The word Zman is related to the word, well, it is, it's just a different form, Zimun or Mazuman, which Zimun is an invitation. Before we say the blessing after the meal, it's called a Zimun. We invite everybody to come together and bless. So the first thing this always should be in your background in our studies, that our time together here, our study of time, of the Zman, it's an invitation. It's a calling. It's calling us into something deeper and broader and richer and more beautiful. It's not such, time isn't something we simply pass through. That's often how we live our lives. But time isn't something that we are simply to pass through. It's an invitation to, and it's an opportunity available to us at all time. So the words Zman and Zimun, invitation, Again, it's the same root. It's giving us something deeper in life to live with, which is time is a holy invitation to live better, to live more broadly, to love more beautifully, to forgive, to try and heal or make amends in terms of relationships. However, whatever the time to is necessary in your life, that's what the time is. Time to, and when we fill in the blanks, and the blanks are endless and always before us, and the question is, are we willing to walk through it? Uh, and it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. Now that I know, I will be seeking deeper, to live a deeper awareness, or with a deeper awareness of time. The word mezuman, which is again related to that word for time, zman, that means to prepare, to be ready. So we have to prepare ourselves in time to be able to be invited and encounter and enter into that timeless aspect of life. Doesn't just happen. It's a real practice, a meditation, and I hope as we walk through, you see the different dimensions of time that we go through as we go through them that will lead you into a greater awareness of what is not simply temporal, our time here on earth. As Patricia was speaking, our time does come to an end. That's the famous. There's a time to be born. It's the Ecclesiastes 3, verse 2. There's a time to be born and a time to die. Those are stages. Absolutely, they are stages. But there's another aspect of time that we can encounter if we enter into by preparing. It really touches beyond time and gives you that sort of transcendent, timeless aspect, just timeless being. It's a beautiful place to enter that I hope we all grow in awareness of. So today our focus is again time broadly, but specifically, and for the next year, it's the months, because months are an aspect of time. And Hebrew months always have 29 or 30 days. Just like in America, 29, 30 or 31, and sometimes 28 or 29. But in the Hebrew word for month is it's a chodesh, chodesh. And we have in Judaism a monthly celebration of time called Rosh Chodesh, means the head of the month, but literally it's the beginning of the month. We celebrate. There are different prayers. There used to be in the past, it was a much more formal celebration. But the idea there is that we are celebrating the new month. We are celebrating newness. Why? Because the Hebrew word for month, Chodesh, comes from the word Chadesh, which is the idea of being new, and Chadash, which is to renew. So every month is not just a transition from January to February, or February to or Shvat to Adar in our Hebrew language, from last month to this month. The month is there as an invitation, as a reminder. The Chodesh is there to Chadash, to renew, or Lechit Chadesh, to renew yourself. The grammatical form is reflexive, meaning something done to oneself within. So we have these monthly awareness reminding rituals to keep renewal alive so that life is more alive for us, because we can get into the rut of life. Uh, our good therapist here was reminding us about we sometimes swim in our sorrows. Was that your language? Yeah, swimming in, we make mistakes. And sometimes life doesn't seem worthy. But we have this reminder, this broad, I think, philosophical reminder in a simple term for month, which has the root idea of renewing, that we have to have monthly renewal. And we even have daily renewal, but I'm focusing on the month now. But it's not just a ritual renewal in terms of form and practice. It's lechit chades or chischadshus. It's a renewal within, something we do within that touches us, that transforms us. And in fact, the word to make new in the Bible, chadash, it's used in a form almost exclusively, except for one time. All of the uses are in the form of a grammatical form called the PL, which is a very intensive form in terms of verbal action. So it's saying that renewal isn't just a casual habit, it's an intensive practice. If we want to truly renew, it's something we have to dedicate ourselves to. So we have a monthly opportunity. We first have the reminder to renew, and then the way to renew is that the verb biblically is almost always used in this active form to tell us that renewal takes real dedication and effort and practice and devotion. And if we don't renew things around us, we see what happens. Things fall apart, right? Entropy takes place. Renewal is necessary. And we often leave our inner world to itself, and it doesn't renew on its own. And so each month that we're celebrating is that deep reminder to make new, to make new. And that's just in the word for month itself. And that's this, again, this broad idea. I think it's such a beautiful idea that even when life isn't well, even when it's not what we would ideally like, which is often, we still have the potential to renew. There's always that hope for renewal. And that's in the name of the word month. Chadash is lechit chadesh, is to renew again within. And as we've said, but at each stage, I'm just gonna, we're following any reflections, any thoughts. If you want to take it a little further, I'm certainly happy to hear. I'm offering us an introduction to, and we're happy to follow it more deeply if that's where you'd like to go. Any thoughts before I just move on to another aspect? Okay. So, as we said, the months in Judaism are not just simply time markers. It's this idea of renewal of life. And the months, again, represent not just time, they represent much more in Jewish thought. They represent every month has a name, obviously, but that name, as we see, isn't just a term that we call it. For the mystics, the name itself gives us an insight, a sort of meditation for this period to reflect on so we can grow. And so months are also represented by time, by name, that gives us an insight. And we will see this month with the month of Adar what some of these insights are for the name of Adar. Like now we're in February. What does February mean? Anybody know? And if you don't, look it up and see if it offers you insight into life. The rabbis say the month itself, whether it's the biblical name or the rabbinic name, this one happens to be a biblical name. Most months in our Jewish calendar are not biblical. There's a few, but most aren't. They came from Babylon when we came back at their Aramaic. But this one happens to be a biblical month in the Hebrew Bible of the book of Esther. But the month isn't just this is the name. The name of the month gives us insight for renewal, in a sense, of a different energy. Each month offers us a different energetic sort of practice to work with. So months also represent tribes. Every month represents a certain tribe. Every month And what that tribe symbolizes is what we'll explore. The months also are represented by a number. Number. Okay, it's the 12th month this time. Last month was the 11th. But 12 or 11 or sometimes 13. We have 13 months. We have a leap month, not a leap day. Or we have a leap year in America, but it's a leap day. In Hebrew, we get an extra month. So the number of months, as we will see, numbers are very significant in Jewish thought. There's a biblical verse that is always associated with a particular Hebrew month, and what that biblical text is calling us to live with. Again, we can't do everything every month. We have to focus our energies to develop our being, our personality. So each month is calling us into different aspects of developmental being. And then there are two more aspects that every month has. It has a sort of three, a character trait and an attribute. Maybe those are similar. It has a character trait and an attribute. What can I cultivate this month in terms of my engagement with others? And then finally, there's a color. So these are what the mystics see in starting pretty much with what his name is the Arizal, the Ari. He lived about 500 years ago. He was a great mystic and Kabbalist. And a lot of this, at least initially, comes from him, and then others develop the idea. So right now we are in the month of Adar. Okay, it's the 12th month, and that's what it says. We know this from the biblical book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 1. It mentions Adar being the 12th month. Okay, Adar is the 12th month. And this month, before we discuss the name, there are many significant events that take place in this month, according to the rabbinic tradition, and part of it is biblically based. But one is that Moses, well, this is biblical, Moses died. This is how we calculate it, at least. Moses died on the 12th of this month. So he also was born on the 12th of this month. So he was born and he died, and he was born and he died on the same date, which in Judaism is very significant. It's very significant to be born and to die on the same day. In this month, on the 14th, 2 days after Moses' death, we have a holiday that we'll be celebrating soon, which is the holiday of Purim. Purim, which has to do, again, with Haman and Achashverosh trying to kill the Jews. And so it's a dark period that has a beautiful ending. And at least the way Jews understand it, it's a repeated, unfortunate experience, right? We have an old saying: "They tried to kill us, we overcame. Let's eat." Something along those lines. That's Judaism, secular Judaism in one sentence. There you go. But Purim is it's a significant holiday in the developmental mind of the rabbis. Not biblically, they didn't make it this significant. But the rabbis relate Purim to the holiday of Yom Kippur. You can hear Purim, Kippur. Purim is just plural, and then in fact biblically the holiday is called Yom Kippurim, Kippurim. So they break it up into like Purim, Kippurim. So they draw this connection between two unrelated holidays of Purim and Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, and they make actually a very deep connection that we will explore on the holiday or the celebration of Purim. And the name of the month now, the name Adar. The name of the month Adar biblically has a few meanings. It has a few meanings. And in Judaism, when a word has a few meanings, we don't just take them individually, we integrate. This is Judaism. And I probably say this a lot, but it's because it's so foreign to other languages. When one word has two distinct meanings, it's only relevant in the context of that sentence. So if I said my dog barks, or I don't, the bark of my dog is loud, I would never think to associate that with tree bark. They're homonyms. They sound the same and are spelled the same, but there's no etymological integration or interrelation between them. Judaism always interrelates and integrates. It's not how they teach it in academic settings, but that's how the rabbis understand it. So the Hebrew word, one of the Hebrew words for Adar, means adir. Okay, it has this idea meaning of strength. Strength. It also has the meaning of to be glorious or majestic. And let's start with those two. In fact, we say it daily in our prayers, Nedar B'Kodesh, glorious or majestic in holiness. We say another part of the strength on Sabbath. It's a song that we sing. But this idea of strength and majesty and glory, what is the significance for us? Well, first of all, Adar is the last month, whether it's the 12th month Adar or the 13th month, second Adar. The idea here, I think, is when we come to an end of anything, endings aren't always easy. What awaits us for the future is unknown, but this is the end of a period, and often we need encouragement. We need hope. We need guidance. And I think this month, Adar, first just by its name alone, lets us know that there's something glorious simply about living, and that there is something majestic that awaits us. And we have to sometimes, in order to see that, or sometimes during periods of life we can't see that, this is where Adar, the last month, is giving you this reminder, the sort of take-home message, right? I used to, in my abnormal psychology course that I took in university, she always said her take-home message, and the idea was that here's my point. Just remember this. Or if you want to know the final point of an article, read the summary, the last paragraph. The last month, the name is giving us a wonderful reminder that be strong. How we cultivate strength, that would be a separate discussion. But to find that strength, to cultivate strength, because majesty and glory and beauty await. Not because it always is. We have to remain strong when things end, when transitioning between. We need strength. We do. It requires strength to continue. Life is not easy. But the last sort of month, the last month that we have is offering this, I think, poetic reminder of be strong. And what do we say at the end of our Torah readings when we finish each book in a synagogue? It's a different word, but we say chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek. Be strong, be strong. And that last word, v'nis chazek, can be translated in many ways, but and strengthen each other, or let us strengthen each other is one way I would at least translate it. Strength is required for endings. And we have to remember that majesty and glory are still potentials, even though this has ended. Okay? That's the name. That's the name. So at each month in your life, when we transition even between February and March, think of what has ended, but I'm going to take strength and I'm going to try to renew majesty and beauty in life and in relationship. That's just for the name of the month. The tribe of the month that we have associated with Adar is the tribe of Naphtali. I remember the 12 tribes. So Naphtali is a it represents one thing. It represents his swiftness. Naphtali, it's like a gazelle. And if you've ever seen a gazelle, you know their movement it's swift, but it's also gracious. And it's Naphtali Ayala Shlucha in Genesis 49. Is a hind sent, a hind sent forth. The idea here is that first, just the tribal affiliation is Naphtali, but the swiftness of a gazelle is the sort of image that we see. When you see a gazelle, you see swiftness, but also beautiful, graceful movement. And again, focusing, everything I'm saying is in the context of the end of the year, right? This is our an ending, hopefully with many more endings that await us, but this is our ending right now. How can we end the year? We can end on a note of, like Jim Morrison, this is the end, my only friend, the end. It's a heavenly song, but it's not hallelujah. It's a painful song, tragic. We don't have to end that way. We don't have to end that way. We don't have to live that way. Naphtali, this month, our ending month, at least in the biblical counting, not the rabbinic counting. Remember, we had two different ways I discussed last time, rabbinic and biblical ways of counting. In the biblical counting, this is the 12th month, sometimes the 13th. And the question is, even when things are ending, periods of life are ending and we're transitioning, can we remember in the end to have that grace, that graceful movement, literally and also more metaphorically, can we live and flow with grace in life like a gazelle? We don't often, I don't know how often that's your meditation, but for me, it will be. I've never thought of this before until I started reflecting for this study. But these months, again, are not simply names, they are guides for life. And remember, Chodesh is this idea of renewal. This is something this month, need renewal, renewing help. I need this idea of just flowing and moving gracefully. Flowing and moving gracefully. And in fact, one of the words for time that we mentioned, Zman, rabbis again debate, as they always do, the different meanings of these words for time, Zman and eight and so forth, Sha'a, Rega, Moed. Zman, according to one great thinker, the Maharal, the word Zman has to do with time in the sense of flowing, as opposed to a point in time. There's fixed time that's set, as a period, and then there's this idea of flowing through time, time as a flow. And for me, the question is, in the end of this year, with Adar being the 12th month, can I flow with that imagery of a gazelle? The month is the tribe of Naphtali, which is represented by the gazelle. How can I, when things are at the end, how can I keep that memory alive that I can still gracefully move, gracefully love, even when I'm in pain, even when loss is before me? And these last couple of months have been a difficult time. Oh boy, I better plug in my Uh, Computer, I didn't plug it in. I'm gonna flow right back to you. Hold on. Sorry. Yikes. It's not plugged in. Ah, that's the problem. What's the problem here? Huh. It is plugged in. I don't know why it's not plugging in. Put it on hold for a second, AC. It's plugged into the wall and it's plugged into the computer.
All
I don't
right,
know why
go
it's not.
go gracefully.
Well, I'm just trying to go right now
Mhm.
with electrical flow.
All right, while you're getting that synced up, um,
You guys chat.
the rabbi mentioned that there's
Yeah, yeah.
the holiday of Purim, and it's associated with happiness, being freilich,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a joyous time. We survived a
Yeah,
potential
yeah. Can you
tragedy,
hear me?
and um, so the
My computer
rabbis,
won't.
I'm going to mute him while he's figuring that out. The rabbis talk about this month of Adar, we have an obligation to be happy, and which I find that a really a powerful, compelling um, command because it's not always where our go-to, right? But we have to try and pursue happiness and achieve it as much as possible. And when we have a leap year, we have an extra month. The month that we have is another Adar. So we actually have 2 months sometimes of Adar, 2 months of extra happiness. It's Adar 1 and Adar 2. And the rabbi referenced that, but that helps keep the holidays in the right times. And our months, as I put in the chat, the Jewish months are lunar. So they start with the new moon, which is a renewal of its own. So you can always, if you know where we are in the lunar cycle, you know where we are in the Jewish month as well. The full moon's in the middle, and a lot of the Jewish holidays fall in the middle on the full moon. So
AC, I have a question for you
yeah,
about second Adar. Does it follow first Adar, or is that another time of year?
no, yeah, Chuck's nodding said, yep, it follows. Yeah, so there's Adar 1 and Adar 2,
Okay,
or
and they're
Aleph and Bet.
they're consecutive.
Yep, yep. So we'll
So,
have once every, there's like a cycle, 7 years, 11 years, where we have to put in that extra month to kind of rewrite the years so the months line up. Yeah, it follows right after. Okay,
so you get joy and then you get joy
extra.
squared.
Yeah, yeah. Happiness
Yeah. No,
squared.
thanks for bringing. I was going to mention that Adar is the month of increasing joy. Marbin B'Simcha. We increase joy in Adar. Wait, we're not recording. So, but yes, I'm going to discuss that again. It's very important. Very important. Uh, we'll get to that in a moment. Beautiful, beautiful. So, pick up again. What
Yep.
happened was it was plugged in and it was plugged in, but it wasn't plugged into the link. There, there's one,
See?
two, three plugs, and there you go. So that's a lesson for all of us. Make sure you're connected. So, all right. I'll move on. We'll be done. I'll keep it briefer. Let's see. Where was I? Hold on. I just picked up some papers. Let me find where we are. Three,
You were
four,
talking
five.
about Naphtali and the
Oh,
swiftness.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't remember where we were, but I'll just pick up with what was it? Naphtali and
Just the that and also
oh, the a
yeah,
graceful ending.
yeah, not ending the month like
Oh no, and I was also
sorrowful.
this for me renewal with grace. Uh, I don't know. There's going to be a gap, but I'll try and figure out where I was. I'll try and figure out where we were. So okay, we ready?
Yep,
Is
yep.
it
Yeah, we're
is it
good.
recording?
Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Uh, yeah, I think I was somewhere in the midst of speaking of finding renewal and majesty. These last couple of months, we've lost four people, and another notification that the end is that this is the end, so to speak. And the question is, how can we go along still, even with tears, but tears of with tears, but still graceful living, like a gazelle. That imagery of a gazelle to end on. That's our end is so beautiful for me. So beautiful for me. Uh, the let's see, letters is also every month is represented by a letter, and the Hebrew letter for this month is a kuf. Sometimes I pronounce it, kof, but we in the Judaism say kuf. And a kuf in Jewish thought, first of all, also I'm going to mix. It's a letter, but it's also a number. We'll get to I'm going to I'm going to do a different numerical discussion in a moment with specifically with number. But right now, the number kuf, the letter kuf, I mean, is also a number, and it's 100. So Aleph is 1, right? Yud is 10, Kuf is 100. 100 represents wholeness, complete wholeness. There are different forms of wholenesses in Judaism. 7, 8, 10. Multiples of those always incorporate a grander dimension. So what is 100? It's 10 times 10. 10 is a wholeness, but 100 is a multiple of that. So there is the idea of deep enduring wholeness. And when we come to the end, again, that's my prism, Adar at the end, and everything here is how to help me beyond what is the end, how to help me renew beyond the apparent ending. The word, the number 100 represents for us this idea of wholeness, that even though things seem to be coming to an end, wholeness is still available. It's going to manifest itself differently, but our wholeness, that absolute core of our being, still is. We just need to find ways of renewing that and living with that gracefully. The idea of the word itself, kof is a letter, or kuf is a letter, but that letter represents in Judaism, we won't go into biblical text for it, but it represents different words which represent surrounding, and also the idea of strength. Just like the name Adar has the one of its meanings, Adar, Adir, is strength. The letter Kuf itself has the idea of strength in it. It represents strength, a word for strength. And then that also represents the holiness, Kedusha. So all of these letters, strength, holiness, surrounding, there are words that begin with the letter Kuf that the rabbis say are reminders of what this guides us with. The letter itself is guiding us in this month, which is we need strength when things come to an end. And this idea of surrounding, what are we surrounding ourselves in the end? That's a question we should be asking ourselves daily. What am I surrounding myself with? And again, that letter Kuf is like it represents the word hakafa, which has the idea of circling or surrounding. So the letter itself is reminding us, one, that wholeness is still available even in the end, when things end, and that it takes strength to continue in the face of endings. And one way to help you through these endings throughout life, these adars of life, is what am I surrounding myself with? And also is holiness. If it's not holiness because you don't have a sacred practice, just think of loving goodness, like a goodness that is loving. But Kedusha is holiness biblically. That's just the Hebrew language. So is that a part of in the end, have I lived a life of loving goodness and holiness. That's a daily reflection. And we're to continue, we're Judaism, you're supposed to remember the day of your death every day, because that will help you live a greater life of goodness. And the rabbis also, since they speak of Kedusha, of holiness, that this letter represents, Kuf, Kedusha, they also say it hints at the idea of repentance, because very often we're not living up to the ideals of holy life, of a life of goodness. And so the way back is to realize that, make amends, repent, and come back to a holier way of living. So this idea of repentance, of redeeming what has been done, making amends, that's also an aspect here. The attributes of, or an attribute that this month is associated with, remember we have tribe and number and letter. There's a biblical verse, there's a character trait, or an attribute and a color. The attribute of this month, the character trait of this month is, the attribute is like laughter and joy. I'm going to combine the sort of character traits and attributes, but it's joy and laughter. How often can we, in the face of endings, can we find joy? Can we still have laughter after we have gone through a very sad or tragic ending? We all go through sorrow. The question is, are we living with that sorrow? As Adrienne spoke of just swimming, is that our end? Life has many Adars, many 12th months, sometimes the 13th month. And life's endings, this is the end, is very sad. And so I don't think it's accidental that they have this sort of attribute or trait of laughter. They also bring in joy with the last month. Right? We're to increase in joy. Remember, that's what AC was bringing up before. Marbin B'Simcha, the month of Adar is a time for increasing joy. We have another month where we go into sadness and mourning for a different reason. But the question is, in the end, and after all of our endings, can we cultivate that attribute of laughter and find ways to increase joy when Adars happened, when Adars happen in life? And like I said, I was combining attribute and trait. Attribute is laughter. The trait in rabbinic thought is more song, but song is joy. That's the joy that we were speaking of. Can I find a song, even if it's a sad song, in my ending that I'm experiencing? There are other aspects other traits that they incorporate, but I just want to focus it on this idea of attribute and trait of laughter and joy with song. That's the trait, joyful song. Can we, in our sorrow, the sorrow of endings, can we still, at least after, not during, but can we after the loss, after the ending, can we still find laughter, joy, and song? And then the color that's represented is wine, is red. It's and the rabbis relate it to like a diluted color of wine, of red wine. And what wine represents is not what it often represents for many people, a way to numb our being, but wine represents one thing it represents in the mind of the rabbis is sacred study, holy study, or wisdom study. Just that way it's neutral and applies to everybody who's listening. Wisdom study. I'll just ask. I've been talking a lot. Does anybody have any thoughts on why they associated the color of the last month of the Hebrew year, biblically speaking, the month of Adar, with the color of diluted wine, the sort of red diluted wine? Any thoughts on possibly why they associated that color with Torah study, wisdom study? Probably that silence is probably a better answer than I'm going to give. This is my thought. When we go through trials, when we go through various endings, the only thing that's going to help us through, one of the things that's going to help us through, in addition to the presence and comfort of another, is wisdom. We need deep wisdom to guide us through the dark periods of life. The superficial isn't going to help. It's not going to help. But it's diluted wine, diluted, not diluted like you're deluded, you're clueless. Diluted wine. It's a diluted redness of color. I'm going to leave that for you. That's according to the Midrash. We say Medrash, but Midrash, which is again, a poetic way of reading sacred wisdom. But they emphasize this idea of diluted wine. So those are the sort of representational ideas, symbolically speaking, that Judaism associates with the month. Wait, I wanted to see that chat. I was trying to read the chat at the same time and think. My guess is that literary wine is a symbol for where suffering meets with joy. Both are possible at the same time. Aha. That's another way of that's a good way. Mine was wisdom is our way. We need real depth of insight to guide us. And what that does is blend, like Ben said, that joy and suffering don't necessarily cancel each other out. One doesn't displace the other completely. And that's why it's so beautiful that we have joy and song and laughter as traits and attributes and strength to carry on in the face of our endings. They come regularly, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So that's this month's brief take on the idea of time for the month of Adar. The Zman, remember that's one of the Hebrew words, this idea of time flowing. How can these ideas flow during our time of ending? What are the insights we can take from the name of the tribe, the name of the month, the tribe of the month, the number of the month, the letter of the month, the character trait or attribute or color? These are ways that we can all incorporate deeper insights into life through the concept of time, because the months are a wonderful guide for life, because they remind us, Chodesh reminds us of Hadash, of renewing, to renew, Lehit Chadesh. One time biblically, it's used in the Psalms, in Psalm 103. One time it's used to renew, but it speaks of renewing from within, this reflexive form of the verb. All the other times it's used in the Peel, which is a very active form of renewal. Dedicate yourself actively, intensively to renewal of self. Because endings happen, and the question is, can we laugh, smile, sing after. So I think they see just because
Yep.
of time and everything, I think this is a good place to end.
Yep. Speaking of
And we can
endings,
talk about the
I'm going to
Torah
turn that
study
off.
next time.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it was just pause, but yes, thank you all for coming very much. Koach, Yashikoach, strength to everyone, continued strength, more joy, laughter, renewal, all the things that the rabbis brought to our
Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah.
We should be blessed with those things. Thank you all for being here. It's really
Thank you.
Shabbat
wonderful
shalom.
to see you.
Yeah. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Be well.